I was someone who considered Jessie to be an S-tier brawler until pros told me otherwise. But today I'm gonna prove to you that they were very wrong, specifically their tier lists and top 10 brawler picks. First off, why do I say pro tier lists are wrong? Well, it isn't because the tier lists themselves are wrong, because obviously Brawltubers like Spen, Tom, etc. are professional players in the sense that they know the game inside and out. No, the reason I say pro tier lists are unreliable is simply just that. They are pro tier lists. Now, what do I mean when I say this? A pro is basically an expert at the game, both in terms of game knowledge and mechanical skill. Game knowledge is easy to get, but mechanical skill is not, especially because each brawler has their own playstyle. And that's where we run into the first problem pro tier lists pose, the issue of brawlers. A good majority of you are casual F2P players, and this means a few things. 1. Maybe you don't have all the brawlers, meaning that knowing the best brawlers is worthless to you. 2. Maybe you don't have all the SPs and Gadgets. A lot of brawlers that are meta, like Leon, Spike and Stu, are only that good because of their gadgets and or star powers. The best example would be Poco in Poco Double Tank, who needs to capo for the comp to even work properly. And finally, maybe you don't have all the brawlers in high ladder situations. The second problem is skill. There's a massive disparity in skill between you guys and the pros. So the brawlers they suggest may not work that well for you. I think Mortis is the best example. Contrary to popular belief, Mortis is a very good brawler to play. But Z, you may say, what about all those Mortises who do the entire game? Well, that's exactly my point. The issue of player skill. In Brawl Stars, it's never a question of which brawler is better than which other brawler, as much as it is a question of which player is more skilled than which other player. With brawlers like Primo and Shelly, if the Primo is more skilled than the Shelly, the Primo will win, despite the clear advantage the Shelly has. Even in a hard counter situation, player skill will often decide the outcome. It's almost never exclusively about the brawlers themselves, but rather how good the player behind the brawler actually is. And that is a crucial variable pro tier lists do not consider: individual player skill. This is also reflected in the ladder. Low ladder players are just learning their brawlers and how the game is played. Mid ladder players fairly understand how the game is played but aren't as good as high ladder players. Pros may mark Jessie a C-tier brawler, but in a game where enemies are rushing mid and bunching together, Jessie can capitalize massively, and this happens a lot, even in mid ladder. Quite simply, what I'm saying is that pro tier lists are geared towards competitive players. Now, why does this matter to you? Mainly is because most of you are simply not competitive pushers. Sure, you may play Power League every now and then, but a majority of you are mid-ladder players who aren't going up against the likes of Spen and Bobby every other game. It also becomes a question of whether pro tier lists are consequential at all, considering that most of them are in the top 0.1% of the entire player base, and 99.9% of the players are either mid-ladder or even lower. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to what pros have to say, obviously, and I'm certainly not saying every tier list video pro Brawltubers have made is a complete waste of time to watch. As a matter of fact, I do recommend watching challenge guides, since those are more comprehensive and focused on context and tactics. What I am saying is that pro tier lists are not the holy grail of becoming good at Brawl Stars, and that it's more important to develop your skills with your favorite brawlers and to think about what kind of value each and every brawler brings to the game. And luckily, I've made a video on that very topic for you to watch next.